Introducing the Marvin Health Ministry's Caffeine Awareness Campaign. Discover the facts, benefits, and potential risks surrounding caffeine consumption. Stay informed for a healthier lifestyle.
Is caffeine bad for you? So first off, what in the world is caffeine? Well, caffeine is a drug. It's a stimulant. It is the most commonly consumed stimulant worldwide. It's a methylxanthine actually, and in its pure form, caffeine is a white crystalline powder with a bitter taste, and you can find it in different places in nature. You can find it in coffee beans and tea leaves. You can find it in cocoa beans. You can even find it in the flowers of some citrus plants. So how does caffeine work? Caffeine affects your brain and your body. It affects your central nervous system and other parts of your body as well. So let's start with the central nervous system. Caffeine can work by blocking adenosine receptors. So what in the world does that mean? Well, you have these adenosine receptors in your body, and when adenosine gets to them, then it causes you to relax. And maybe even feel a little drowsy, a little sleepy. That's what adenosine gets to them. But what caffeine does is it blocks those adenosine receptors, and so the adenosine can't get to them, and it keeps you from being tired. It actually makes you more awake or alert. And so that is one way that it affects your central nervous system. Adenosine receptors are in other places on your body as well. You have adenosine receptors, specifically the adenosine receptors on your heart and your kidneys. So again, wouldn't be adenosine is on these receptors in the heart, then it can cause the heart to have a slow heartbeat. But if caffeine gets these receptors, that you get a fast heart rate. So caffeine can have that effect of speeding up your heart rate. You may have felt that before. So where else you have adenosine receptors? On your kidneys. And so when you have those adenosine receptors that are taken up by adenosine, you tend to have a bit of a slower or lower urine output. You're not urinating as much. But again, when caffeine gets to those receptors, you tend to urinate more and more frequently. And so you may notice that when you're drinking a lot of caffeine, you're running to the restroom, you're urinating a lot. So these are just some of the effects that caffeine has on your brain and your body. And it also can affect your muscles as well. Caffeine causes calcium to be released from muscles. So what are some of the benefits of caffeine? Now, I want you to understand that there is not enough data in order to promote or discourage caffeine use. However, there are certain benefits that we do believe you can find from caffeine just in general. One, it can make you more alert, more awake, more focus. We also believe that in some cases, it can help with memory, but we're not sure if it's actually helping your memory or if it's just taking away some of the withdrawal symptoms if you have somewhat of an addiction to caffeine. Another possible benefit of caffeine is that in low to moderate doses, it may help to decrease depressive symptoms. And there are some studies that suggest that caffeine may actually be beneficial long-term in certain neurodegenerative disorders like Parkinson's disease and dementia. So now let's talk about some of the potentially dangerous side effects, some of the adverse effects or bad effects of caffeine. But we do know that there are definitely some side effects that can affect your health. So is caffeine bad for you? First, remember this, that we believe that as long as you are not consuming more than 400 milligrams of caffeine a day as an adult, then it likely will not have a lot of adverse effects for children and adolescents. It is believed that if children consume less than 2.5 milligrams per kilogram of body weight of caffeine, that is not likely to have bad effects on them either, but kids have to be careful, and adults as well. You don't want to mix caffeine with other substances, like you don't want teenagers having energy drinks or high caffeine and mixing them with alcohol or other pills, sleeping pills, drug substances, so they don't want to mix caffeine. Well, caffeine can have a side effect of restlessness. You can have anxiety that's worsened by caffeine. Also, if your person has high blood pressure, caffeine in some cases can exacerbate it or make your blood pressure worse. Caffeine can also cause a jitteriness. Caffeine can also cause a fast heart rate. So if you're a person who already has a fast heart rate, or tachycardia, especially if you have an abnormal heart rate, or you have an arrhythmia, then potentially this fascinating or quickening of the heart rate and the caffeine could be a potentially negative side effect for you. And then there's dehydration. I mentioned that caffeine can cause a blocking of the adenosine receptors in the kidney, and it can make you urinate more frequently. Well, this can actually cause a dehydration, and we know that dehydration can lead to other problems like kidney failure. So dehydration is a potentially negative side effect. You can also develop a tolerance to caffeine, where you need more and more. And so I mentioned that we believe that 400 milligrams of caffeine or less, we believe that that amount has pretty low potential for causing bad problems. But if you're someone who drinks coffee daily, and if you're drinking 400 milligrams to get that alertness, that focus, that memory sharpness that you want, your body actually may develop a tolerance. So in other words, as the caffeine blocks those adenosine receptors and keeps you awake, while your body might actually make more adenosine receptors. What does that mean? That in order for caffeine to block those adenosine receptors, it's going to require that you drink more and more coffee or more and more tea, or just taking more and more caffeine. So you can get a tolerance, and then there's withdrawal. If you become addicted, and yes, you can become addicted to caffeine, then it can lead to caffeine withdrawal. Remember, if you are a regular consumer of caffeine, if you're having to get daily, then if you stop suddenly, you may feel these caffeine withdrawal symptoms. They include headache, fatigue, irritability. You can even get flu-like symptoms just from withdrawal from caffeine. If you're experiencing caffeine withdrawal, you may also struggle to concentrate. These caffeine withdrawal symptoms can last anywhere from a few hours to 24 hours to a few days. And a lot of folks just go ahead and drink themselves some caffeine in order to get over their withdrawal. But it's really an important concept, because you really just don't want to be addicted to anything to rely on a stimulant in order to function. And so it's important that you're aware that caffeine can definitely be addictive. So not likely, but yes, there is such thing as caffeine toxicity. The general rule is less than 400 milligrams a day for adults, but again, consult your physician. Caffeine is the most widely consumed stimulants in the world. We have over 150 million Americans who consume coffee daily.
What are the side effects from too much caffeine? Restlessness and shakiness, insomnia, headaches, dizziness, fast heart rate, dehydration, anxiety, dependency, so you need to take more of it to get the same results. Is caffeine good or bad for the body? Studies have found caffeine to do both good and harm. People who regularly drink coffee may be less likely to develop chronic illnesses such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, Parkinson's disease, and some cancers. A few studies suggest that they are less likely to die from heart disease and other illnesses. How much caffeine is too much a day? Healthy adults shouldn't consume more than 400 milligrams of caffeine per day. That's equal to about 4 8-ounce cups of brewed coffee or 10 cans of cola. Teens should limit their caffeine intake to less than 100 milligrams per day, or 1 8-ounce cup of coffee, or about 2 cans of cola. Who should avoid caffeine? People with high levels of anxiety are those prone to panic attacks. Caffeine is a stimulant which may worsen anxiety in some individuals. If you regularly experience anxiety or panic attacks, you may want to consider avoiding or reducing your caffeinated coffee intake. What neutralizes caffeine? Drink lots of water, take a walk, practice deep breathing, and wait it out. Can caffeine cause anxiety? Caffeine's jittery effects on your body are similar to those of a frightening event. That's because caffeine stimulates your fight or flight response. According to a 2006 study, and research from 2018 has shown that this can make anxiety worse and can even trigger an anxiety attack. What is the healthiest form of caffeine? Tea. Black and green teas provide safe doses of caffeine along with some health benefits from the antioxidants, flavonoids they contain. Coffee. It's all about a safe dose of caffeine, so be wary of those double espresso shots.